This is Philly Talk with Philly Mike. Talking sixes in the bird gang, that's our life. Competition, we ain't scared, yeah, that's what we like. Win or lose, you know we showing up and we gon' fight. You see we strive for the sky every day that go by. And every single week we screaming fly, eagles fly. This is Philly Talk with Philly Mike. Yeah, this is Philly Talk with Philly Mike. Yeah.
What is going on, everybody? I go by Philly Mike, host of the Philly Talk podcast, and today we are back with Dave Spadaro. How are you doing?
Mike, how are you doing, man? I'm good. I'm good. I'm excited, and I'm really interested to hear what you have to say about this off season, and I'm interested to hear what your expectations are for the draft.
Yeah, so let's start with the off season. Howie has spoke about, the lack of moves, but I actually like the moves that were made. Hassan Reddick, I think, you bring back a home, a home field player. I think he's been tremendous the last 2 years, averaging 23 and a half sacks when you combine both years. I think he fits what we need in a Jannard Avery role since he went and moved on to, I believe, the Broncos, if I'm not
I thought
mistaken.
it was the Steelers. What's the Steelers? Is
Steelers,
yeah,
yeah. Alex Singleton went to the Broncos.
yeah.
He went to the Steelers. And then a Kaiser White, which was like really off the radar. I love that pick. A lot of Charger, content creators and bloggers were trying to get him back. But with the money they spent on J.C. Jackson and Khalil Mack, the trade, I think they were kind of stuck a little bit. But I love it. I know the subscribers pretty much liked it. Let me ask you, do you see any more moves made before here in the draft after the draft?
Yeah, I mean, always right now, everybody's got their eyes open. Players like to get their situations resolved before the draft, generally. So, I think what you're looking for right now is players who still have that expectation of big salaries. And teams are saying, we're not in any hurry to sign you. And if we don't sign you at that position, there's going to be 10 options in the draft. So I think the Eagles will certainly be in the game for what's out there. I don't know any specifics of any players that they're, you know, hoping the dollar number comes down. But I think Howie's, as we all know, always got something cooking, and it wouldn't surprise me at all to see a player or two added before the draft.
Yeah, I know that safety was big. We made an attempt, at least reports came out that we made an attempt for Marcus Williams, the ex safety for the Saints. Baltimore just beat us, crossing the T, dotting the I's. A lot of reports came out that showed the Eagles were one step behind, not willing to overpay, knowing that where we sit as a rebuilding, but a team that did just come off a playoff appearance. I think, we were doing our due diligence on the right guys. And it just shows me that, although Howie has said multiple times, we're not just here for the now, we're also building for the future. And the move with the Saints goes to show that as well. I do like still the aggressive mentality that he has, and that Eagles are being reported interested in, making this football team better.
All right, so I'm going to pick some of your words apart there. You used the phrase "a step behind," and that to me implies that they were beaten out for Marcus Williams. And I will tell you that I think the approach is that you have a certain number you go to, and if the player has an offer that's above that number, then you have to say goodbye. And that there's a hard decisions. And in some of those cases with players out there that the Eagles were looking to go after, I think they said there were three players that they wanted to target. And they got, obviously, Hassan Reddick was their number one, and they were able to get him. But you're not going to get everybody in free agency,
True.
and you have to be disciplined. And look, I think it's obvious they want to improve everywhere on the roster. The defense has started to get its overhaul with the two players you mentioned, White and Reddick, coming in. I think there's more to come there, whether it's in free agency or the draft. So I don't agree that they're a step behind. I think that what they're doing is resisting the urge to make a big splash just for the sake of throwing all their money in right now. And it was interesting last week at the NFL's annual meeting, Howie talking about the approach. We're not pushing all of our chips into the table, Mike. This offseason is about the NFL draft, and the Eagles have to win in the NFL draft. And I don't care what position. You're going to ask me, well, do you think they're going to look at a wide receiver? Do you think, yeah, they're going to look at everything.
Yeah,
There's not one position on this roster and one group that you'd say, yeah, we don't need help there. Is
true.
there?
No,
You,
no.
you,
In the totality, I agree with you there,
yeah.
and you're right. I didn't want to say missed out. I feel like the Eagles were looking at players, but like you said, they had a limit that they were trying to spend because this ain't a all or nothing year. We're
It's a
not
discipline. You have
pushing
to be
all.
disciplined.
Yes.
Now, look, in future years, the salary cap is going to skyrocket. The numbers are crazy. I mean, look, it's interesting, Mike. Like, you have to be very flexible. So, in my mind, I've always been one of those guys who you don't draft wide receivers in the first round, right? Well, guess what? The numbers that wide receivers are getting as free agents, they're costing teams 5 draft picks, 6 draft picks. They're getting 70 million guaranteed dollars for wide receivers
Yeah.
in an era where it's never been easier to get open. Tell me the last great superstar first round pick wide receiver that won a Super Bowl. The Rams didn't do it. Cooper Kupp was a third round pick. They traded for Odell Beckham Jr.,
Hmm.
OBJ. The Chiefs, Tyreek Hill's a mid round draft pick. I mean, who is the last superstar wide receiver first round? But so now it's changed because Stephon Diggs gets his big deal, and Tyreek Hill gets his big deal, and Devontae Adams gets his huge deal. And so I look, I mean, I get it now. Drafting wide receivers is really important at the top of the draft. You want players who are young at that position. So if the Eagles were reported to be interested in this wide receiver or that wide receiver, and Christian Kirk signs for $18 million in Jacksonville, I mean, I get it. The market's changed. The money's crazy. So you better draft well. And to me, this offseason's always been about the draft. Free agency is about filling in some holes. It's not about forming the basis of your roster. And the Rams have been very good, even though they haven't had first round picks, very, very good at mid to late round draft picks. And so, again, the Eagles with 10 picks, they've got to do a great job in the draft this year. And they've given themselves enough draft ammunition in future years that if they want to move around, they can do so. So I think they're in a really good spot. I felt going into free agency that, Reddick would be a target. We kind of knew it here. And they were able to get him. And then look, I mean, Marcus Williams, I'm sure the Eagles were interested. He's a very good player. Baltimore made an offer that Williams couldn't refuse. I mean, it happens. You move on. But it's still really early, and we'll see. I think that we'll all be really happy with the way this roster's put together, both for the short term and the long term, after we look at it, standing back and looking at it after the draft.
Yeah, and I spoke on here about the Christian Kirk. He was a guy that thought the Eagles, he could make the Eagles roster better, but by no means were, I even greenlight saying to spend that type of capital on or type of money on a player like him. He's solid, but I think you got to watch what you do. The Marcus Williams one was the only one that I thought like, we really missed out. But again, we still go ahead and get Anthony Harris on a 1-year deal. Not ground changing, but
It's
he
not
played
over yet.
better.
It's not over
Yeah,
yet. Hey,
yeah,
not over
I
yet.
know, I know. But that helps you as a fan, kind of do the mock drafts where, okay, a linebacker, we went ahead and added Kazir White and Hassan Reddick, even though he's going to be used, as the linebacker, pass rusher role.
Rusher.
I would think, right? If
Yeah.
hopefully
That's what
Gannon
he
uses
does. I
him that
mean,
way.
that's what's going to be interesting to see is how Jonathan Gannon uses him in the scheme, and Reddick gets to the quarterback. Is he going to be a 3-down linebacker? I don't know that. But I'm interested to see how I mean, the Eagles were 31st in the league in sacks, quarterback sacks last year. Glaring need. And you're always going to look to add pass rushers. And Hassan is one of the better ones in the league. So love that signing. Again, though, Mike, this defense is going to be addressed further. This is a work in progress.
Talking about the defense, and like I said so far, the only offensive piece was Zach Pascal, a familiar face for Nick Sirianni, a guy who I think, you got him on here as your third or fourth guy, can still bring value into this wide receiver room. When you look at these first two picks, being 15 and 18 now, do you see them using? Do you think the Eagles stay there, or do you think that's just plan? Just a guess. Knowing, of course, the Eagles.
I can't make a guess
like
because then
Chutes and
people will
Ladders.
quote me and say that it's not a guess. So
Yeah, you're right. Well, let me ask you this: last year we were very we moved around in the draft. He was able to finagle going back around the time we just did this trade, and then he went back up to jump in front of the Giants, which was fantastic to grab a wide receiver that we believe the Giants would have took in Devontae Smith. We do got that third round pick, the compensatory pick from the Saints. We do have a couple picks that could probably move us up into the first round. Let me ask you, defense is what they're going for, right? You believe?
I don't know.
True. Like you said,
the draft isn't for 3 weeks.
True.
I don't know who's going to be on the board. What if 3 quarterbacks go before 15, and all of a sudden you've got a player that you really had rated highly as a whatever wide receiver, offensive lineman, whatever.
Yeah.
And they're on the board. So I don't. I think the worst thing you can do as a team is say, in the first round, we've got to get a wide receiver and we've got to get a cornerback. That's terrible. And the Eagles have done it in the past, and it's cost them in a big way. And I think this team's in a situation where you just need to add good players. Just keep adding good players. This is not a rebuild. Use the word earlier, rebuilding. It's not a rebuilding. That was transition was last year. They are a building team. So like just if you were to say to me, Dave, what positions would you not draft? I mean, I wouldn't draft the place kicker because I think Jake Elliott's good. Offensive line, yeah. I mean, I would take, if I loved an offensive lineman, I would take an offensive lineman. Yeah, so exactly where wouldn't you take a player on this roster?
Of course, I'm not taking a running back in the first 2 picks. I'm not, or with our first 2 picks.
Whatever I'm saying in the draft. I'm not. I don't focus on I think the key to this draft, Mike, it's not the first 2 picks. It's 10 picks. It's adding depth and quality to this draft, to this roster, and everybody's saying that the quality of this draft is from like 15 to like 38. All the players are the same. Good football players. So that tells me that there's a lot of depth in this draft. So I know everybody focuses on the first round, and I get it. It's fun. It's what's right in front of us. And the Eagles have to hit on those 2 picks.
Yeah, it's your least chance to bust. Or however, not necessarily saying it won't be a bust.
Yeah, and so you're going to go for the big splash? You're going to go for the grand slam, or you're going to go for the guy who's going to be a double, triple kind of player? I don't know what Howie's thinking. We're still 3 weeks away. I can tell you upstairs that they haven't even started the mock draft yet. NFL teams really start digging in on Monday for that final bit of prep that they do in the draft.
Yeah. We do notice that they have reported some of the people they scheduled in for visits. I know they were, they saw the Devontae Wyatts, the Jordan Davis, the 2 D tackles from Georgia. Ahmad Gardner was one of them guys who, when you look at the fun part of mock drafts, right, the fan part of mock drafts, he never escapes the top 10 picks. You still do your due diligence because of the draft capital that Howie has. He could slide back. I mean, I honestly could see, not saying this is what he would do, but I could see him moving from 15 to 9, 10, 11, and then saying he got that one guy. And as you said, from 15 to 38 is pretty, a lot of solid tier guys that can help your football team. So then him moving back 18 to 26, maybe the Kansas City Chiefs need a wide receiver after losing Tyreek Hill. They got Juju, but maybe they want to come up to 18 to get a wide receiver that they like, and we can fall back to their 26 or 27 pick and get some more capital to bolster this team. I just think that, Howie's always been a guy that plays
that's
like
my
that.
point. That's my point. Like, I think you're right, because they can do anything. They have the draft capital to move anywhere they want in the draft. And I mean, they've got 2 first-round picks this year, 2 first-round picks next year. They've got some players on this roster who I'm sure have some trade value, should they want to explore those options. So yeah, if they want to move up, they absolutely can do it. If they want to move back, they can absolutely do it. That's why it's just so hard for me, even not doing an interview with you, but like just in my mind and having conversations in the office. So we all talk about the same things you guys talk about. What are we going to do? What's going to do? Nobody has an answer, because literally anything is possible. And I think the Eagles are in a position of power. I've been saying that the whole entire offseason. They've been able to really, really build up a lot of assets to use, and how you use. So it's great having all those assets. It's what you now do with those assets that means so much. And the Eagles have to nail this draft.
Let me ask you this. A lot of the talks, the beat writers and just, blogs and even here, we talked about the trade and all the aspects of it and what does it mean and what we're trying to do. And, is it just, for the future and whatnot? How much is it do you believe it has to do with, them just trying to have leverage in case, Jalen Hurts doesn't take the Bulls by the horn this year? I saw growth. I spoke about it on this channel. He's not all there yet. We know that. But a guy who is as determined as him, I'm not one to bet against anybody who shows that he's willing to do every and anything to become a player in this league. I've saw the growth throughout the year from the September to December and leading us to the playoffs. But how much was that, do you believe, just for the general future or more to, hedge your bet with Jalen Hurts?
I don't think the Eagles are going into it with that philosophy. I think they're going in with the mentality of optimism that Jalen's going to improve his game as he knows he needs to. You can deal with that stuff later. I think, again, the Eagles just were presented with an offer they couldn't refuse. They essentially traded a first round pick for a future number one, a future number one, a future number two, and a current number three. That's amazing value. So yeah, I mean, it's not. I don't think there's any specific thought that, hey, we have to do this in case it doesn't work out with Jalen Hurts, because I think everybody feels like he's got a real shot to take that next step. I don't know what's going to look. What quarterback's going to be available next year in free agency? Is there going to be another handful of quarterbacks who are disgruntled, veterans who are disgruntled, who want to be? I mean,
yeah, this
what's happening in the
for the
NFL
quarterback
is
position.
it's crazy.
Yeah, it was a little Madden-ish, a little Madden simulator-ish, to say the least, with all the quarterbacks. You're talking about a Matt Ryan, Deshaun Watson's news. You got Russell going over here. Tom Brady coming back saying, I'm not done yet. The NFC looks wide open. Why not give it another shot?
Yeah. So I guess the way I approach it, Mike, is like, I think everything in this offseason is really open for conversation. The possibilities are pretty endless with the Eagles. I can't tell you where they're leaning in the draft. They don't know yet. I'm sure they've got an initial grouping of players at 15, at 18. But that changes as the scouts come back in, as trade talks heat up. I mean, did they really think they'd end up with Devontae Smith last year at this time? No. Were they looking at cornerbacks? Yeah. They were looking at a lot of different players when they were sitting at 12.
Mm-hmm.
And then they had an opportunity to move up with the trade and get Devontae. So, yeah, I mean, look, I just want good football players. And I really don't care what position they are. If they draft a defensive tackle, hey, there's a need there.
Mm-hmm.
Defensive end, there's a need there. Linebackers, need. Cornerback, need. Safety, need.
So, but you would say most of the needs are on the defensive side of the ball.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And
but if I can upgrade at running back, I don't have a big pounding running back on the roster. Do I have a second tight end who I am, that I really know about? No. Do I have another piece at wide receiver that I could use? No. How about age at center and age at right tackle on the offensive line?
Yeah. And again, we do know that, from Andy Reid, with Howie Roseman, the trenches are the utmost important. We're over here in the draft live last year, and I'm like, JOK is still there. Asante Samuel Jr. is still there. We got to get one of these guys, and it's Landon Dickerson. And I'm at first like, he's injury prone. And by all means, I have that reaction over there. And Landon Dickerson is everything you want in a young piece to prove that, he stayed healthy. He's versatile to play left guard and center most likely. And, just a wrecker of an offensive lineman. So I'm excited about that pick.
Yeah. So that's that's the thing. Like, just get good players. Like, yeah, I know. Look, everybody kind of looked that way about Landon Dickerson. And if he stays healthy, he's going to be a superstar offensive lineman wherever he plays. So, But that's the approach I take. And again, I also look at it from a standpoint of the Eagles need more than one or two pieces.
True.
I mean, if they felt that they were one or two pieces away in free agency, maybe they would have gone higher than their limits. Maybe they would have gone to greater extremes to get that one piece. But this team needs a lot more than one piece. And they know it. And that's why the draft class is so important, not just the first two picks.
Oh yeah, I agree 100%. Speaking of, a guy like Landon Dickerson who was, injured and proved to everybody, reports did come out that the Eagles, from like the John McMullins and those of that sort, that we were very interested in David Ojabo. He's the guy who, end up, tearing his Achilles, I believe,
Yeah.
non-contact injury. Do you think a team grabbing him in the second round, if he's staying that far, do you think that'd be a good idea? Do you think highly of his game in that position with that injury that it could be something worthwhile?
I mean, it's a risky move. 1 year starter, great athlete, great production in Michigan, terrible injury, probably won't play this year. A position that relies solely on the burst, not solely, but very significantly on the burst. Tragic injury.
Yeah.
I think it's more of a medical question. I don't know how his surgery went, what kind of progress he's made since the surgery. It hasn't been very long. So it would certainly be a very, very risky pick for any team in the second round. And look, the Eagles have a player like Reddick who's kind of in the same position.
Yeah.
So not sure I see the need for that.
Gotcha. So we definitely, came to the conclusion that defense is where it's at. And we did see the Cowboys draft last year, like every single pick in the defensive side. And although they still are the Cowboys and they're not good because of the Cowboys, their defense did step up.
For part of the year it did, not late in the year.
True that. If the Eagles go that heavy in defense, do you think with some of the pressure on Jonathan Gannon last year, just like the constant interviews talking about some 80% passing completion and just some of the, questionable things where Fletch kind of says something like, I'm not used to going out there and chasing the running backs. Do you think there will be more pressure on Jonathan Gannon if he gets a heavily invested defensive draft, the guys that he can call his, so to speak, and that side of the ball don't change as much as it should?
I don't. Pressure doesn't mean anything. Like everybody puts pressure on themselves.
True.
He puts way more pressure on himself than the fans do. And the fact is, it's not going to matter if the Eagles use 7 of their draft picks on defensive players. Everybody is going to want to see the defense improve.
Correct.
So I think inherently there's just pressure on the defense, on Jonathan. This defense is how has this defense gotten better? Well, hopefully Brandon Graham comes back healthy.
True.
Everybody's been in the system a year, so they're going to come back better. Reddick is a big plus as a pass rusher. White has a chance to earn significant playing time. Could be a starter at the weak side position. We'll see. So they've gotten better on defense. And, Jonathan knows he's got a few more pieces to work with, and we'll see how the scheme evolves.
Question about a veteran that might have played his last year in Philly, Ronnie McLeod. Haven't heard no news about him. I thought, once I saw Marcus Williams off the table, I know Tyrann Mathieu still out there. I think the Eagles are going to look at the draft. I think safety is important, but as we talked about, what ain't important. If we end up getting we do got the young guy in Kavon Wallace. He hasn't been able to get on the field, and when he has, he got nicked up a little bit. Marcus Epps is a piece that he plays with a lot of heart. He flies around out there, but the Eagles really only used him ever as that third guy. We signed Anthony Harris back, but right now, I guess the other safety spot is wide open. Could we get a 1-year deal, possibly with Ronnie McLeod, and then if you bring in another young safety, let it be the farewell tour to for us to really move on to the future of this secondary, possibly.
Yeah, I mean, again, yeah, possible. I think Rodney's probably one of those players who would like to find a home before the draft. We've got 3 weeks to go before the draft. And every day in free agency, those prices come down, 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 down. And I remember the draft in Nashville, right before the draft, Eagles re-signed Tim Jernigan, like the day before the draft.
True.
So I think you'll see players like Rodney McLeod, wherever that may be, could be in Philly, who knows. That right around that area is where you're going to find him, the players like him, getting contracts. But right now, everybody on the market wants money.
True.
They want money. And you can do all the negotiation you want. Rodney McLeod's get a nice little 1-year deal. Well, Rodney McLeod would love a 3-year deal, about $36 million guaranteed. Like, don't negotiate for him. He wants more than what you are willing to pay him. So, Philly Mike, you're not going to get Rodney McLeod at your number. You got to be a better GM than that if you want Rodney McLeod.
True that. Yeah. And every year that goes on, the dead money that we have on, a lot of these, again, a couple years ago, this organization was all in. They were trying to lock up some of the guys that won the Super Bowl, giving deals there, moving things here. And so I think that for bouncing back as quick as the Eagles are, and this team has always been in my whole life as resilient as there is in the NFL. Like I said, I have enjoyed this offseason. I have really enjoyed the fact that we had 3 first-round picks. I think everybody who does what I do believed that we were going to move off one of them. We weren't going to draft everything. You got 3 guys. Say we hit the draft perfectly, and all 3 of these guys' contract are up, at the same time, and they're all getting paid top dollar at that position because they performed that way. They proved it. It's hard to finagle. So we all kind of figured, whether it was the people who don't believe in Hurts, whether it was the people who realize you're not paying all 3 first-round picks top dollar if you hit on these picks at the same time, I figured this would happen. And I love the Howie Roseman deal. I think he done it again. That's the one thing, right? Like, on this side, right? The side that's able to. I don't know how to be a GM. I don't know how to play football. I can say you should have completed that pass, right? It's a little harder than it sounds, but I'm gonna do it on this side as long as I can do it on this side, as fair as possible. But Howie, when it comes to trades and making these type of moves, being aggressive, there's, to me, he's one of a kind in that realm.
Yeah, again, I think everybody's kind of received it that way, that it's been a really good deal for the Eagles. Again, you have to take advantage of the assets that you acquire. And having 3 first-round picks would be a bit difficult. So you just have an asset, you want to maximize the asset. And here the Eagles are with 10 picks, 5 in the first 3 rounds, 9 in the first 5 rounds, 2 in the first round. Let's see what they do. That's an awful lot of opportunity. So if you can add a good number of very solid players with high upsides, you've made this team instantly much, much better. Again, a playoff contender. Again, a division winning contender. And that's the goal, just to get incrementally better and build the right way and try to, have this young, deep roster that looks a whole lot better now, Mike, than it did a year ago at this time. The Eagles had traded Carson Wentz, and they had all these holes. And what are we going to see at Jalen Hurts at quarterback? I mean, think about it in the last 12 months, what the Eagles have been able to accomplish in terms of building their draft capital, in terms of, getting out of that dead money thing, which is really not a big deal in the NFL. The NFL just pushes the can down the road. The salary cap's going to go up astronomically in the next couple of years. Mm-hmm. So it's just, like how he said, like you buy a house, do you want to pay for it all now in cash, or do you want to pay incrementally? And that's all the Eagles are doing with the dead cap money. So the Eagles are so good, and they've been good since the Joe Banner days, of manipulating the salary cap, managing it, finding holes. They've always been aggressive in free agency, and they've never been held back. Even after trading Carson and incurring that $30+ million cap hit, it's only taken the Eagles, as Jeffrey said at that time, only taken them a year to get out of that cap situation. So they're fine with the cap. They're fine with their draft assets. It's all now about making the right decisions and bringing in football players who are going to improve the Philadelphia Eagles. And
Yeah.
I can't wait to see what they do, Mike. I know. I'm going to ask you a question. What do you want to see out of this draft?
Definitely want to see defense. If there's only really one thing I could see with the earlier picks is possibly, I actually hate saying it because knowing that we spent a first round pick on a wide receiver now back to back years, I just think it's kind of hard to justify doing it again, even though some of the production can call for it. I think there'll be guys there that complement not only Hurts but a Devontae Smith there, but
Yeah, and
I would like to see
look.
defense.
I mean, again, would you rather have a young stud wide receiver? Yes, than a veteran who you just traded for, or who has a contract coming up, and you're gonna have to guarantee $75 million to him. So, yeah, I mean, if that's how you want to add it, first round, then I've changed my thinking over the years because of the way this market has gone for wide
Correct.
receivers.
And how good they are. You're starting to see if you get the right guy in here, or just in the NFL in general, they can really, you've seen the Jamar Chases, even Devontae Smith in a running offense. You've seen Justin Jefferson, you've seen Jalen Waddle, you've seen Jerry Jeudy, CeeDee Lamb. These guys step in and they can compete right away. Just the systems, the Alabamas, the Ohios, the LSUs, they know how to prepare wide receivers. And I agree. Look, part of the reasons why, we've the Eagles over the last couple of years, after the Super Bowl, right? They kept trying to build their team in free agency. And if you only are hitting the free agency, but we're not completing it with the draft, the dollars add up, because anybody you get in free agency, you're paying off what they already did. They proved something in the NFL, and you got to give them money to match at what they proved. That's not necessarily saying they're going to do it in your system that good or up to that standards. But if the best teams in the NFL are able to get the youth in here that is good, and then fix holes with the free agent market. And
It's all about the foundation.
The blend, yeah.
The foundation of your roster is built in the draft, and you're right. Then you fill in around the draft with free agency. And you don't make free agency the basis of your draft.
And I think
the basis of your roster.
Yeah, I agree with that. I said it for multiple years that the draft has been what has killed us. Now, talking about real quick before we get out of here, Howie Roseman's draft last year, I think, was very good. I liked contributions from Devontae Dickerson, Milton Williams. I think the approach was more BPA last year, just going over it. I know we got killed by reaching for a position of need, or this guy's skill set and position is something. So I think we stay there. I think, as much as how he stretched this and how we're talking about it, this draft is very important because where we are, right? Year 2 of the new regime. And if you already made the playoffs, you really don't want to go backwards in this thing.
Yeah.
Vegas has us as 8.5 over under. Last year we were 6 over and under. So Vegas at least putting some respect a little bit by giving us two extra wins. We'll see how that goes.
I will say this, by the way, again, I'm gonna jump on you because I'm just in that kind of mood today.
It's cool.
You said that we were killed by the draft. Well, Mike.
Not 18.
Mike, the Eagles have been in the playoffs, 4 of the last 5 years, and they won a Super Bowl in that time. So how killed have the Eagles really been? Have they drafted players who haven't worked out? Yes. But every team does that.
Yeah. Well, I would just say, like, on our defensive side, right? One of the reasons we need an up-and-coming D tackle, an up-and-coming pass rusher, up-and-coming corner, up-and-coming safeties, because they're the positions that we haven't really got right in the draft, so to say, the last couple of years. That's why, our veterans are mainly on the defensive side. On the offensive side, we locked up a left tackle, we locked up a left guard, we locked up a wide receiver one, we got some running back depth. We got a tight end one, and possibly the quarterback of the future. With all that being said, the defense is going off of the trade from McLeod, the trade for Slay, the most of these
the emergence of Sweat.
Sweat. That whole 18 group, that 18 group was great.
Yeah,
Sweat,
and you're right. There've been others where they haven't hit, and they made a really nice trade for Darius Slay. But you're right. I mean, again, we're on the same page. You've got to draft well, and that's why, to me, I'm not going into the draft saying the Eagles need to get this position, that position. The Eagles, to me, just need to get a bunch of really good football players to help this team.
Yeah, but if, again, if we come out of the first round, because it's always the first day, right? Then you got to go to bed. You got to wait to the next day for day 2. But if we come out with,
yeah, what do you want? Tell me.
I want a defensive end / tackle,
Okay.
right? And then either a corner or a linebacker. I'm thinking the corner is more probable than a linebacker just because of what we added and the fact that we haven't drafted a linebacker in the first round in 40 years.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look at that. There's a lot of good defensive ends in this draft. There's a lot of good defensive tackles in the draft. Good wide receivers in the draft. Cornerback is obviously, you look at the corners and you've got Slay out there. You've got Vontae in the slot. Who's your other starting cornerback? Is Zach McPherson ready to take that step? I don't know, but again, could be a cornerback, could be a safety, could be a linebacker.
Yeah,
all of those positions.
I think the fan base don't. I think the fan base. I think with some of the guys' name, and I'm not going to name anybody particular, but if we end up going like the defensive ends that are huddling around where we can move up to or at, the defensive ends, the cornerbacks, and the wide receivers, I think the talent is there. That if you stay within these group of guys, which a guy, oh, he's going to be there. No, he's not. He gets picked 9th. He's not going to be here. I agree with all that up and down stuff, right? I'm interested in seeing where Amon Garner falls to, and if the visit we have with him doesn't say, oh snap, it's pick 10 and Amon Garner's still on the board. Howie Roseman's calling up at 11. Cornerback not as important in his mind as a defensive end through the years, just knowing how the Eagles.
Cornerback's really important. Listen, Howie believes in defensive line and then cornerback on defense. So it is important, very important.
It's very important to me. Just you got to pass in league. You can never have too many corners. But yeah, like I think if you either move up a little bit, stay there. If you come out with your first 2 or 3 picks, mainly on the defensive side, right? An offensive lineman, I think a lot of people will gripe, but then come to the conclusion that, part of the reason why we were successful this year on offense is because we had a top 5 O-line. It's not always oh yes, I can't wait to see how many picks he gets or how many sacks he gets or how many touchdowns, but you got to do it. And so, we'll see where that is.
I think fans fall in love with players they know in the draft. And those players are usually the ones who touch the ball or the highlight guys off the edge. So I would like to talk to you after the draft because I believe that you and I believe Eagles fans will be very happy with the way this roster looks after the draft. And the Eagles won't be done after that because they'll still look for trades. They'll still look to the waiver wire. They've seen over the years picking up Steven Nelson before the start of training camp last year helped. Jay Ajayi before the trade deadline in 2017 helped. The Eagles will be active all the way through. But right now, nail the draft. That's the objective. That's the mission.
Yeah. And, you can always tell Howie just to take a look at Philly Mike's channel. I mean, I've been speaking highly of him. Appreciate your time, Dave. And
always.
We definitely will talk after the draft and see exactly how it was executed by Howie Roseman.
Yeah, we'll see, man. Thanks for having me on, Mike. And go Birds, and let's have a big draft. I'm looking forward to just I'll be in Vegas for the first night, and then I fly back a red eye, and big weekend here at NovaCare.
All right, have a good one.
Thank you, man.
Peace. Shout out to everybody in the chat. We're going to talk for a little bit longer. Shout out to my guy, Dave Spadaro. Like I said, he's employed by the team. He gives them the criticism as warranted, where it is. He agreed with me that we failed in the draft over the years, but, they still sign his checks. You know what I mean? He can say so many things about that, but he's a really good guy. And I appreciate talking to him. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Like I said, I don't think we get upset if we go defense. I think the wide receiver can be a pick. I'm not saying it should be or shouldn't be. I think we definitely can use a number 2 wide receiver. But now that we have 2, which was in our mind the whole time, where to go with it. I still think that pick number 51 is very important. Pick number 80 something is very important, and pick number 101 is very important. They're all important because as we see these teams, right? There are GMs out there that Josh Sweat was a 4th round pick. We get another player who can play up to Josh Sweat's caliber in the 4th round. You got to build in the draft and then you sprinkle the free agents, because any free agent you buy or sign is going to be a lot of money, for the simple fact that they proved something for so many years. Now the team's not paying them, so you got to pay them. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. We're going to see. I try to see what I can get out of Dave Spadaro about did we really move the first round pick the next year because we're skeptical about Jalen Hurts? We know that that's probably the main reason they did it. Listen, the NFL is a business. They don't fall in love with anybody. So at the end of the day, even if they believe Hurts can take that next step, which I know a lot of us do and a lot of us don't, we were going to see who's right. If come week 12, it don't look better, I'm going to say this guy and this guy and this guy in the chat, you were right. What else you want me to say? Now we got to figure out how to fix it, because at the end of the day, we all want the Eagles to be good. That's the simple thing. It's just we have different opinions on how we get there. But he don't like it when I say things like retooling, rebuilding, and stuff of that sort. But it got to be talked about. You know, we put ourselves in a situation to where that's why we got to do that. He says, like I said, that the money's going to get bigger. The sponsors, the cap's going to rise. It's going to skyrocket. Hopefully we are good by that time to invest. Listen, if my car is a normal car, I'm not going to get beautiful rims on it without making sure I'm going to upgrade my car first, then get the rims. So until this team is, closer, you're not going to spend big, especially when you got safety, linebacker, well, not maybe linebacker now, but safety, corner, defensive line, wide receiver, all questions. You got all questions there. So I agree. I was trying to push him on who does he think we're going to draft and stuff like that, but he is right. Last year when I talked to Dave Spadaro, I talked to him a week before the draft. So he did have some inside last year. I texted him yesterday last week, and he said he was good this week. I should have scheduled it to closer to the draft, because he did have some insight. For those who've been following me last year when we had Dave Spadaro on, and we had him on last year too, he gave a little bit more insight to who he thinks and where we might go. But this draft is important. And although he don't want to come out and say, he knows that Howie must hit on this draft. He said we need a first round stud at the linebacker spot. I agree, but 40 years says differently. Again, Dave Spadaro he can't fully quote something unless he knows, because he works for them. So he can't fully quote it. But he'll give takes along the line of, I believe this guy can do this. I believe this guy can do that. We should go attack this position. But I do believe he honestly feels like we have too many holes on the defensive side. You can really go anywhere. It is what it is. But I hear you, as I was trying to get him to commit to some things, he was right in the sense of, again, last year, he knew a little bit more about where the Eagles were going, for the simple fact we were 1 week away from the draft, not 3 weeks away for the draft. But shout out to everybody in the chat. And for those who don't believe Jalen Hurts is the guy, well, we will see. The Philadelphia Eagles moving one of the third-round picks to the New Orleans Saints, or 2 first-round picks and change of one of theirs. Us getting a pick for 2023 and 2024 is pretty much a safety blanket in case Jalen Hurts comes out and does what some of you guys think. Philly stop. He doesn't see the field. He can't read defenses. He showed no progress during the year. He was complete garbage against Tampa last game of the year. He was bad against Tampa. The Denver game, the Chargers game, even though we lost, the Chiefs game, he showed signs of Listen, he wouldn't throw to his left early in the season. He threw to his left. He wouldn't throw in the middle. He threw in the middle. He wouldn't stay in the pocket. He did stay in the pocket. There's evidence. Go watch it again. But he still, at times, ran out the pocket before he was supposed to. At times, locked onto a receiver. At times, was late throwing the ball down the field, which made the pass be underthrown because he was late. Yes, I watched the games too, and I agree with you. And I've said multiple times, if he doesn't get better, then things would have to happen. But I mean, you don't have this young of a team and go to the playoffs. I know our schedule was trash, but he still did things. Tampa defense was not good last year. It wasn't good the year they won the Super Bowl into the playoffs, though. Their defense wasn't good the year of the Super Bowl. Go back and check what their defense ranked week 1 through 16 and where it ended up and how good these linebackers and defensive line played in the Super Bowl or in the playoff run. At the end of the day, Hurts has to learn how to read defenses better. He has to learn how to read the pre-snap motion, pre-snap play. He needs to learn how to read how a defense is audible. He needs to get the ball out of his hand on time with the offense, a lot of stuff. And that's why with what we have, we're going to give him the ability to either show it or not show it this year. It's as simple as that. I believe right now, if I was making the decision, I would run it back with Hurts too. I just don't see. I'm not going to give up capital for someone who can be a little bit better or worse than Hurts. I'm going to give him year 2 in the same system. First time he'll have a second year in the same system his whole career. Remember, Alabama, Oklahoma, Doug Peterson, Nick Sirianni. So he moved around. Whether it was his fault or not, he moved around. He's going to have this whole season to prove. A lot of you guys think the same person who says Jalen Hurts stinks would say the Eagles are not in a position that could go for a Super Bowl. So why not find out? Why are we going to jump the gun on another quarterback to push us back even further if said quarterback is not the right decision? If you've been on this channel for longer than 5 minutes, you understand that I'm a guy who believes in the intangibles of Hurts, and I believe he's going to try his damnedest to get better. I don't know if he'll get better, but I also bleed green. I also do the live play-by-plays. When Jalen Hurts is not the problem, I don't say he is. When Jalen Hurts is not doing what I need him to do as a fan, I talk about it. I do break down the videos where he missed the Quez Watkins or missed the Devontae Smith. I simply say what I see, and I understand he is a ways away. When you're looking at passing only, pocket passing, reading defenses, he has a ways to go. However, the running ability he has, the leadership ability he has, the playmaking ability he has kept us in games while we're trying to see if he develops. Again, the whole Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts comparison, that's getting old. I'm not going to say it. But at the end of the day, whether you believe Allen's arm was way more powerful than his, Allen had to learn how to read defenses too. Malik Willis is going to need to learn how to read defenses too. Justin Fields had a problem in the NFL his first season. Trevor Lawrence, the guy who was supposed to be the most highly touted quarterback since Andrew Luck, wasn't so lucky. So all I'm going to say is if Hurts don't improve, it's a problem. We can't continue how he is. He is only 23 years old. And I think a lot of people can improve from 23 to 24, 25, 26. Not necessarily in, throwing motion or stuff like that, just playing on time. So I'm willing to see if he can learn to read that again, there was times, and shout out to Breaking the Birds, he broke it down better than almost anybody, but I still can read the all 22 as well when the NFL actually gives it to us. They didn't start giving it to me until mid-season. They said it was unavailable. I asked Thomas how he got it. I don't know if he was getting overseas or not, because I got a different angle of, not an angle, but a different version of him. Anyways, with that being said, Jalen Hurts sometimes didn't really even understand that if a safety goes down in the box, well, then now it's man-to-man coverage with Quez Watkins. There's things you got to see, and you're like, well, why don't he know that? That is what I want to see. Did the defense disguise it differently? Whatever needs to be done. This is his year to, okay, I saw how NFL defenses want to play me. I see it. Now I'm going to adjust, or I'm not meant to play in the NFL. I'm either going to adjust and learn, or I'm not meant to play in the NFL. We will see. Mahomes and Allen still don't read defenses. That won't that well to me. I mean, Mahomes could see something pre-snap and then go right away. Same with Allen. Seeing something pre-snap could be like this. Okay, I'm looking over there. I see where guys are motion. I'm going to motion Jalen Reagor, who absolutely does nothing. I motion Jalen Reagor. Ooh, this guy traveled. This guy shifted to the left. They're playing cover 3. Oh, they're playing man-to-man coverage. That cornerback is a backup cornerback. Devontae Smith's on him. I'm going to, what is he running? A post route? I got him. First look, first read. Trust, believe. There's things that he doesn't do. There's things that he does do. But my thing is this. Certain quarterbacks who are not developed, they struggle heavily all around because they don't have the other things Hurts got. The intangibles, the playmaking, and the running ability. I know y'all don't want to run a quarterback, but right now he ran us to the playoffs. I'm also a guy who says, get me to win no matter how you get me to win. I don't need to look pretty. Get me to win. Now, our schedule is still easy, but it's not a last place schedule. We'll see how all this works. Just know this. Tom House is a guy who works with Tom Brady, guys who work with Drew Brees, Matt Ryan. Jalen Hurts is doing everything in his power to correct the throw in motion, speed up the throw in motion. Then when it comes to it, he'll work with the Devontae Smith and the Quez Watkins and all these. He'll do everything. If the guy puts in as much work as he's reportedly be putting in, we'll see change. And if we don't, then we approach it then. We see and reassess. But to give up on him now without a solution, what's the solution? Kenny Pickett? What's the solution? Malik Willis? Start him right away? What's the solution? Give up on these first-round picks to have a guy who's even the same as Hurts? Worse? A little better? Go get a guy like Jimmy G so he once we build this team, he can be mediocre with us and let our defense carry him, but we're not going to let our defense carry Hurts? Like, well, what are we doing? Robson, I just wish we landed a big wide receiver vet to fully evaluate Hurts. Dak didn't really look good until he got Cooper. Dak Prescott looked trash. He had Dak Prescott's rookie year. He had Des Bryant, and Zeke was running like a monster. Dak looked decent. He managed the game. Dak Prescott managed the game. Des went away. Dak looked bad. They give a first-round pick for Amari Cooper, and as Rob 350 said, Dak started looking good again. Hurts mechanics don't look good on a deep ball. Facts. Again, this is the difference between somebody who can just flick the wrist, drops back, avoids pressure, sees a man downfield, look at the flick of the wrist. The ball gets out on time to that deep guy who's open. Hurts, on the other hand, drops back, avoids pressure, sees the guy open. 1, 2, 3. Well, 3 seconds in the NFL, he went from open to not open, or he went from open to now you're underthrowing him because you took that 2 seconds to let it go. Just got to be able to play in the rhythm of a play, let alone timing with the receiver. All I'm saying is this, this is not Madden. Just because this year was kind of like Madden, Matt Ryan, Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson, all these quarterbacks just playing musical chairs. It's not normally like that. So at the end of the day, we got to see what's the best option, not the best player. We just can't go out there and take the best player off a team. Thank you. Thank you. They got say too, players and organizations. So at the end of the day, can't just go up in here and say, give me your best quarterback right now. We got to figure things out. And because our eggs were in the Carson Wentz basket, and because it was an epic failure, this is the basket we got now. And I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. There's no reason why. Again, you're saying he didn't improve. I'm not talking about, oh, wow, now he's throwing for 350 yards a game. No, but he stayed in the pocket longer. He threw to the left. He threw slants. He threw in the middle. He took his checkdowns. He did things throughout the season that he didn't do week 1 against Dallas, week 2 against Dallas, all this stuff. or week 3 against Dallas. So with that being said, okay, he learned a little bit his first starting year. Let's see if he takes the extra jump. And year 2/3 is where quarterbacks normally take their jump. Not everybody's the same. I understand that, but this is where they normally take their jump. Some people talking like Hurts is horrible. That's what I'm saying. People act like there are quarterbacks out there who that are way worse. And yes, that team is wanting to get off that quarterback too. The difference is he's 23 and he's going to have this year. Jeff Lurie told you, Howie Roseman told you, Nick Sirianni told you, Philly Mike is trying to tell you, buckle up if you don't like Hurts. Katrick, we will talk about him each week. Did he get better? Is he looking worse? Is he doing things that he should be? We'll be talking about all that. Even elite quarterbacks need real weapons. That is facts. And even elite quarterbacks miss throws. I've seen people miss reads and throws. Russell Wilson missed a couple throws last year that, shout out to the people who follow me on Twitter, pointed out a lot. It is what it is. What's going on with you, Midwest Eagle fan? It's been a minute. Can't say Wentz was a failure when he was key. You're right. Listen, I'm talking about being the long-term solution and a guy who we can rely on forever and ever. You're right, though. We don't go to a Super Bowl without Carson Wentz. I totally agree there. You don't need an arm like Mahomes or Allen. They are literally number 1 and doing exactly. Yeah. It's like, if you can't get an Allen or a Mahomes, you might as well give up. But there's only 2 of them in the league. Like, there's 32 teams in the NFL. There's 10 really good quarterbacks. The other 22 are average or something, trying to get to be in the top 10 or average. At the end of the day, we would love to have a great quarterback, but it's not like this. Philly Mike, I wonder if this is how y'all respond when McNabb took over. I love McNabb. I'm still a big McNabb fan. He probably my favorite in team history. I love what Foles did. And I'll always remember it. I'll always remember what Foles did, and I loved Carson Wentz in 17. But I'm 31 years old, so people my age, McNabb was my whole childhood. Like I walked with McNabb until I was like 8, all the way up until I was dang near a teenager. You know what I mean? I was 8 to 18 almost, pretty much. So I mess with McNabb, and I used to defend him forever. A lot of people talk about the dirt balls and blah, 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 blah. He was always top 10 in my eyes. Solo said, can't wait till the season. Hurts will show improve. There we go. Solo Eagles Dash, shout out to you for tuning in. Loyal Bird said, we haven't really saw what Hurts can do because it wasn't done on Sunday. Yeah, I mean, look, no matter how bad somebody's first year is, right? Again, the new age fan is different. And I don't say new age fan like the younger fans are smarter than the older fans. But guess what? When a player played bad on Sunday, guess who you talked to about it? Your friend. You called your friend up on the phone. You saw your friend at work. You saw your friend at school. You talked about it. There was no cell phones. There was no instant text message. There was no Twitter, no IG. There was no YouTube. There wasn't Eagle content creators saying this guy sucks at this and this guy's great at that. Nowadays, including myself, everybody has the access to talk, see, check, read, look. I can purchase the all 22. That couldn't have been, it could only be like maybe 10 years deep, 20 years deep, that you can pay $100 at the start of the year and get the coach's version to see how good of a player's doing. You can buy it for $100. Now we all can say things. With that being said, all I'm saying is he needs to fix X, Y, and Z. In his first year, he did X, Y, and Z bad. Not everybody's Peyton Manning or Tom Brady or Pat Mahomes in their first year, including Josh Allen, who, if you go back, I guarantee you can find a Buffalo Bills content creators video saying we have to move on from Josh Allen. 9 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, absolutely disgusting. This guy was a first-round pick. He has more interceptions than touchdowns. Get rid of him. There's probably a video out there like that. They probably deleted it now. I'm just saying. Year 2, he's the same. Well, then X, Y, and Z ain't getting better. We'll talk about it. But this is a grown man trying to put in work with guys who are known commodities in the NFL. And I, Philly Mike, am willing to give him a chance. And I, Philly Mike, enjoyed last season for the most part because according to Vegas, according to a lot of people, we were supposed to win 6 or less games, and somehow we got 9 wins, and we got a playoff appearance that, yes, we got obliterated in. And Hurts didn't look good. And if you were watching my channel at the end of last year, I would have said, dang, that's a bad taste in the mouth. I'm not saying he's not going to get better, but all his problems came out in that playoff game. You had the coach saying he can't read defenses. It was a horrible game. Horrible game. That made a lot of people say, well, thought he was getting better and he went right back to this. Still, 1 year is not who you're going to be in the NFL for 80% of the NFL. What does a Hurts extension look like? Well, this is my thing. If he comes out playing, if he doesn't get better, there's not going to be Hurts extension talk. But if he shows signs, see, this is where Howie will probably finagle something. Let's say Jalen Hurts and the Eagles win 10 games. That's a lot. Say that happens and Hurts looks a lot better. Well, then he still can't advocate for the money that they're making. You probably get you could probably make him the top 15, between 15 and 20 paid quarterback and get away with it. That's up to Howie and all them people to discuss. Can we have some hope for Derek Barnett? I would love to get some hope. I mean, I don't think it's real. I'm a gambling guy. The dude cost me $100. I won't bet on him again. I know he had the penalties, but as far as production, Brandon Graham didn't start being consistent until his 5th or 6th year. Correct. But this is the thing. Brandon Graham wasn't consistently getting pressure or sacks until his 5th or 6th year, but you saw the defensive stops in the run game. You saw a guy who wasn't getting penalties, and you saw a guy who was always available. Derek Barnett is getting penalties. He's not that great against the run. And last but not least, he gets hurt a lot too. So look, I see that Derek Barnett has a motor. For sure, Derek Barnett has a motor. It's just not used right. It's not used right. He just not doing it. You know he has a ceiling and it's not very high. Come on, be honest. I don't know. I think his playmaking abilities and rushing abilities always going to have him as a high ceiling guy if he can throw the ball. Not many people can do what he does, playmaking and running and staying even keel. The passing got to get better. It's not impossible. He has to work on it though. Next year, if Hurts improves but Sirianni stays stagnant, would you blame Jalen or still get rid of him? I have to see. Like, I'm a person that's hard for me to say because I have to see it and feel it. And what I do is this. And I was a huge Carson Wentz guy, but once I feel he's not doing what he should doing, again, part of this podcast is what I see and me trying to break stuff down. I can't lie about the X's and O's. I can't lie about that. But I also got guesses and feelings and gut decisions and stuff like that. So with that being said, it's hard to say. I think the Eagles are locked into Nick Sirianni. I think the Eagles are rocking with Sirianni for 3 years, no matter all the way up until his contract's over. I don't see them trying to get rid of him. With that being said, anybody, the NFL has moved, right? Certain players and coaches don't get any chances. Some get too many chances, but the people who got chances are the coaches that have been on a team for a while. The Mike Tomlins, the Bill Belichick's, Sean McVay now. These guys are they're embedded in there. But nowadays, quarterback, head coach, offensive coordinator, if you don't perform in the first 2 years, boom, your job is done. So it's just the NFL is becoming even a bigger revolving door. So let's see. Hurts is going to stop this. who's our quarterback bull? I got confidence he will make the doubters feel it. Hey, shout out to you. At the end of the day, is this. If you believe in Jalen Hurts, cool. If you don't believe in Jalen Hurts, I'm not mad at you saying, Philly Mike, I don't believe he's going to be good, but I hope he's good, right? At the end of the day, I ain't mad at anybody who says, I just don't feel he's going to be good. But, some people come across like he's not and you don't want him to. And I'm just saying, at the end of the day, I want to win. I wants to win. That's it. Joey Z said, I really like Sirianni. He grew on me. Speaking of guts, smash that like button and subscribe. Let's see. We got over 100 likes. Shout out to y'all. And for those who are just jumping in, sorry. Sorry that you don't see the Day Spadaro. He was on for the first 45 minutes. He was on the first 45 minutes. I was going to end it right with him, but I felt like chopping it up with you guys. I haven't been doing as many lives. I need to start. We got a $142 on the like button. Let's see if we can get it to 200. Hit that like button. It's free. It's easy. It don't cost a thing. Time Jalen has been given a full season. He's taken the team to a postseason play. Twice at Bama, then at OU, and last year in Philly. People are hilarious. He's a good player. Hey, see, again, because we have all this toolage at our fingertips, you can look at and say, okay, we lost this. He missed here. He did this wrong. He did this wrong. Well, every quarterback's going to have critique in their game. Just some have it more than others. The best ones have it the least amount. But I agree with Michael Irvin. Like, ultimately, we took a 4-win team, won 9 games, made the playoffs. Was he perfect in every game? No. Was he great in every game? No. Was he bad in some games? Yes. But at the end of the day, we still made the playoffs and we're trying to grow. I really don't understand, if I wonder how we would be talking if the Eagles won 4 games, 5 games, missed the playoffs, and really looked bad. It'd be more great. It'd be more warranted, to say the least. And all I keep saying is this: Philly people don't realize the one thing that they use to criticize Hurts is the one thing they should have used to defend him. What is that? Alabama didn't have a pro-style offense. Use that to defend Hurts. Listen, the one thing I will say about Jalen Hurts, and they're going to say, what? How could you say he got better? He's not good enough to complete passes. Every year, he's learned something as a passer. Little by little, but he had. Alabama to Oklahoma. He was better at Oklahoma. Oklahoma to the pros. You're just better because you're in the pros. His first year starting, September to December, he learned to use the left side, the middle of the field, to stay in the pocket. Not every possession, but he learned things. I'm seeing how he puts it together in year 3. Alabama didn't really do anything to help him mechanically because, let's be honest, the college teams don't help out the NFL with making them NFL ready. Caters. I mean, yeah, and Alabama got too many things they worry about. They worry about national champions, and they worry about keeping everybody on the roster, trying to get to the pros. Colin B said Jalen might not be the best quarterback, but he's a winner and a hard worker, and that right there, with taking us to the playoffs, allows me to be confident in us giving him another year. Just off that alone. Oh, y'all talking about Bama. But listen, shout out to everybody in the chat. We got 242. If you do want to hear what me and Dave Spadaro talked about, check out the rerun. The first 35 to 40 minutes is me talking to Dave Spadaro. We talk about the draft a little bit. He wasn't trying to give no exacts. Last year, we had him on a week before the draft, and he actually had some little tidbits that he could share with us. He has his 3rd year to show his progress and potential. There we go. Carol Poole in the building. I haven't seen you in a minute. What's going on? What are the chances we draft Lloyd or Dean after signing Kazir and Hassan? I think they're slim. Again, you're talking about an organization that hasn't drafted a linebacker in 40 years. Now we signed 2, even though Reddick is going to be used in that, pass rushing role. Kazir White as your, weak side linebacker coverage. So I it's slow, but last year Howie Roseman did a good job of picking best player available. We haven't always done that throughout the years. With him picking best player available, if Dean or Nakobe or Lloyd are the best players there, maybe he trades back or maybe he decides to pull the trigger. Wentz had a beat up offensive line. No Smith, no Goddard. Was always hurt. Oh, we talking about Wentz now? Bama would have won a national championship last year if they received it. If they received it, don't go down. Remember that. Oh yeah. I hate the all season. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. So if a guy is not good enough, why not bench him or help him? Y'all be having the conversation inside the conversation. I ain't mad at it though. Joey Z said the only issue I have with Hurts is I'm not sure if he can compete with elite quarterbacks when we need him to. A 350 plus yard passing game. I hear you. That is a concern, and that is why he has to be a better passer if he's going to be a NFL quarterback. Here's the thing though. Who was in the Super Bowl? Two elite passers. Joe Burrow and Matthew Stafford. But how many 350 plus yards did Matthew Stafford have? How many did Jimmy G have? And Jimmy G was in the NFC Championship. Again, I don't want just mediocre. I want Hurts to grow as a passer. But Jimmy G is not known for his 350-yard games. Hence, Dak Prescott is known for having 300-yard games. Him and the receivers were the main part of that offense. Dallas has had, for the last 2 years, a beautiful passing attack, but it doesn't always work that way. The 350-yard passer didn't get 350 yards against the Niners defense, and hence Jimmy G was able to beat him with 200 yards passing, kind of a Jalen Hurts type game. So I agree with you. That is a concern, a legit concern, Joey. He has to be better. I don't have the answer of me saying he's going to be better, but my true feelings is I believe he can be better. And here's the thing. The Eagles, I don't believe are going to be patient. He has to get his timetable, his schedule got sped up. Like, if we were better around offense and defensively, it would help him, of course. If this was a different, if he was a different draft pick or the team, I don't know. Certain teams invest, certain teams don't. I think with the draft capital we have now for the next 2 years, his timeline is sped up to the fact that he got better a little last year. This year, he can't get better a little. His leap has to be bigger because of the Eagles' timeline. So, for as much as we say we're giving him too much time, it's still kind of unfair. And whether I believe it's right or wrong, it's just the way it's going to play out. Eddie said we also got to get him other help. We have one receiver that depends on the title, not very much to go far, especially if a young quarterback. I hear you on that. The more, the merrier. Yo, Philly Mike, what's good? Yo, we need to get Honey Badger in the building and tranquilize him, man. We need to get him. I was just talking with Dave Spadaro about, if worst case scenario, because right now we have Anthony Harris and Kavon Wallace, Marcus Epps. I said, if worst case scenario, could we see a Ronnie McLeod 1-year reunion, draft a safety in this draft that we actually believe in, and let him learn under Ronnie McLeod and Anthony Harris so we can actually have some type of future at the safety position. Hey, Philly Mike, what direction would you go in draft next season if it works out with Hurts? Next season? So, I'm going defense with maybe a receiver if they're there, and I'm going to continue. I think the offense is kind of good in the sense of, you got some, you can always go offensive line, and we got to figure out what we're going to do with Kelsey. But the direction I will go is defense. I think there's too many holes on defense. And even if you don't have a hole in the next 2-3 years, a hole will develop. Slay got 3 more years. What are we doing after him? Say Anthony Harris plays good. Okay, we signed him for 2 more years. What are we doing after him? Brandon Graham, say he plays good. Okay, 2 more years, 3 more years. What are we doing after him? Hargrave is a free agent. Are we extending him? So I think that you still got to go defense until we figure it out. Now, if we hit on the defensive picks, maybe we'll flip that back to the offense. But I think defense is a work in progress, and I don't think you fix it all this draft. But I think the both next drafts got to go there. What did the wide receiver sprinkled in? I think we got tight end 1, we got Devontae, we got 3 pieces on the offensive line that's still young. We got youth at the running back position. If we're going to elect to bring Miles back or go with Kenneth, still can use a bruiser. You can get that later in the draft. But defense is where we find our most holes. Showtime, show enough. What's going on with you? Fair point. We can't complete. I agree. Defense is going to be what we need to help. But we still got to be able to compete. We got to be able to win multiple ways. You got to be able to win via the ground. You got to be able to win via the pass. You got to be able to win close games, and you got to be able to get a blowout or two. Give your guys some rest. You got to be able to win in all facets. We need Treylon Burks. Listen, I'm going to be breaking down the wide receivers soon. I'm going to put my top 5 wide receivers. If the Eagles could get one of these guys, great. My top 5 wide receiver video coming up. And I'll also tell you in that video if I think, we will get a receiver or not. In the NFL today, if your offense isn't good, your defense won't look at it either. You can't win with defense and your offense isn't good. How good with the Niners offense? You know what I mean? How good with the Niners offense? How good with the, you're right. I mean, depending on how bad is the offense. I mean, the Eagles, we average 20-something points a game. Somebody let me know in the comment section or the chat where we ranked in total points per game. Points per game, where do we rank? Daxton Hill, I think he's going to be a star, a Minka Fitzpatrick type. I just started looking into him. I forgot who told me to look into him, but I like him. We going to run the same offense back, Mike? It looks like it, unless we draft a wide receiver or do anything. It looks like we're going to run it back. I mean, you will have all these players in their second year. Hurts should be better just by being in the second year. Goddard will now have a full year at tight end 1. Remember, Zach Ertz was part of the crew prior to him leaving. But I think you got to get somebody in here. Zach Pascal's really only a third piece. Mike Smith said receivers need to take that leap too. Facts. It's not just Hurts. Receivers got to take a leap, a big leap. And Rager, he got to take a hop, skip, and a jump, and a car, and a plane. We need to see something for him. Other picks on defense. I ain't mad. Uptown said since we need a bruiser back in the offense, we should take Hassan Hoskins from Michigan or Brian Robinson Jr. from Alabama. Interesting. What about a Damian Pierce from Florida? That's another guy I just started looking at, Damian Pierce. But I do agree, Hassan Haskins, he barely fumbled. I think he has one of the longest streak in colleges for not fumbling the ball. A bad offense isn't first in anything. We were first in rushing, mainly because of Hurts. Facts. Again, and actually, rushing and defense are friends. Rushing keeps the clock going. Defense is not going to stay on the field as long, and it definitely helps out a lot. I wish we kept that third pick and went D-line DB and then pick up that center, Tyler or Treylon Burks, Garrett Wilson, or Olave. Yeah, but look, as I said with Dave Spadaro, you gotta understand, not only are we trying to hedge our bet with Hurts, because there are concerns. Nobody can physically say Hurts will 100% fix everything. But some of us are confident in his ability already and him getting better. And I'm there. But paying 3 wide, say we hit on all 3 of our picks. You're paying a top wide receiver, a top defensive back, and a top defensive line or center. You're paying these guys at the same time, and that would have been worrisome. I'm doubling down at corner no matter what. You can never have too many corners. You can never have too many corners for real, for real. Mark G said, want to see a linebacker or edge or wide receiver first 2 picks. That is where I think the ballpark should be around. You can add cornerback in here too. I think there's no way we don't come away from a linebacker, edge, or wide receiver or corner. Them 4 positions in the first 2 picks, I believe 2 are going to be from in that order. Corner, wide receiver, defensive edge, or D tackle. I just mean the line. They're going to be 2 of the first 4 picks. I don't see a way they not, unless somehow an offensive lineman that Howie Roseman loved fall to us and then he pulls one of them. Eagles ranked 12th in points per game compared to 26th in 2020. I knew at one time we were top 10 or we were number 10 because I made a video on it. I didn't know if we fell back. Shout out to you, 2020 Vision. And exactly. So again, if you are 12th in scoring, number 1 in rushing, and you still got playmakers like a Smith, like a Goddard, and like Hurts, sometimes with a defense behind that, you can make things happen. You could. Professor Chaos said Eagles were 12th in points per game with 25.5. Shout out to both of you. And again, so it goes to say is this, that if our defense was legit, if our defense was top 10, and so just check this out. If you are the 12th highest scoring team, but your defense is the 10th lowest scored against defense, 2 plus 9 minus 7 plus. That equals probably more wins than losses. You know what I'm saying? If you're averaging that. Now, again, you're going to have one where it goes the other way and the other one where it goes the other way. Hurts got to be better. I'm not saying, well, if the Eagles keep Hurts at this exact rate of passing, but we get a defense and we do this, we can hide that. No, he got to get better. But while he's getting better, he does things on this team that keeps us competitive, keeps us winning, wins football games. You know what I'm saying? Carolina game, a nail biter, and this is when they were decent or they weren't in a losing streak before Sam Darnold went off the cliff. Bad game from Hurts, first half. Bad game from a lot of people, first half. He had a beautiful deep ball to Quez Watkins with a guy in his face. That was a beautiful deep ball, a playmaking. He made a play. He's a playmaker, made a play, and then he finished it off with his legs and got us the close win. Wasn't pretty, but every game he got better. A couple games like the Giants and Tampa where he looked like he went back to his original traits, but he's 23. It's muscle memory. We got to figure these things out. Can we get Philly Mike at CB? Hey, listen, I'm only 5'11. You know what I mean? We need a taller guy. But I'll go there. I'll do it for the culture. I mean, if I get beat, y'all don't. If I get beat one play though, you're gonna be telling me, you'll be calling me the Jalen Rager of corners and stuff like that. You're gonna be killing me on Twitter and whatnot. I'm gonna have to delete my social media. Y'all so mean. No, just kidding. I'm just kidding. Uptown said if we take a DT at 15, we should take a corner at 18. And then the second draft, Nick Bonito from Oklahoma or that Maji Sanders. I'm just looking at Sanders too. And shout out to y'all for putting me on Mahe, Boye Mahe from oh my God, I'm losing my mind, but I'm really digging into some of the guys you're telling me. And I think I like this draft. Shout out to everybody in the chat. I'm trying to get to as many as possible. Ice Ice Baby said, look at Burrow's arm, though. It's nice. Is he available? I'll take a Burrow. Is he available? You know what I mean? Is he available? Name Brand said, if you switch Burrow and Hurts, who plays good and who gets credit? Wide receiver or quarterback? If you switch Burrow and Hurts, who plays good and who gets credit? Well, we would have to see who plays good, right? If you switch Burrow, but now Quez Watkins ain't really getting that open, or Devontae Smith is getting the ball thrown to him, but he's dropping the balls. Who knows? If Joe Burrow's getting bailed out by this run game or the fact that It's hard to say. But yes, the way Joe Burrow plays football, our passing game would have been better, most likely. Running game would have been a little bit worse. Would it have bounced out? Would it have made us better? Would it have made us worse? Because the receivers maybe not that ready. I don't know. That's kind of hard to really say it would automatically been better. We were first in rushing. We should draft Olave at 15. I see a couple mocks now that have Olave going to the Washington Despicables at 11. Trying to get another Ohio State target for Carson Wentz. Hey, Odell's 5'11", too. Tyreek Hill 5'10". Yeah, I know, but, as a cornerback, when you play on the outside and you got to go against the Devontae Smiths, the guys who can get up there, I want them to be. I can't jump. White men can't jump. So if I'm 5'11" and I got some ups, is one thing. You know what you could put me at? I'll be let me be a slot wide receiver, right? You know what I mean? Need 3 yards, I'll catch it, take a hit, maybe. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. He said, no, Mike, no, Mafe. Shout out to Justin Biller. What are you thinking, Mike? Smith and Pascal and Watkins are not enough. I think we take a wide receiver around 1 or 2. Yeah, I think you got to do that. I think you got to do that. I like the wide receiver you can probably get at 18. Listen, I got a top 5 wide receiver video coming out, and boy, look, I've been watching a lot of tape on these wide receivers. I've been watching Jamison Williams. I've been watching Treylon Burks. I've been watching Drake London. I've been watching Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Alex Pierce, and I even started watching Christian Watson. Treylon Burks, too. Did I say Treylon Burks? Christian Watson out of North Dakota, where Carson played. I've been watching this man 6'5" and can run 4.3. It's crazy. He played bad competition, but I'm going to be dropping the top 5 wide receiver video, and a guy I think that will be there that the Eagles should target. That's going to come out in the next couple of days. We're going to get a lot of draft videos out, but I've been watching tape because I want to absorb as much, fall back from it, and then come back to doing the numbers. So I'm not just like one-sided on what I'm thinking. But listen, this is why I tell you guys to you know what I mean? Hold up. This is why I tell you guys to follow me on Twitter if you got Twitter at Philly_Mike25. Because if you literally have a prospect, you're like, yo, this guy's low key, nobody's talking about him, blah, 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 blah. Hit me up in my DMs. And a lot of you guys put me on people that are legit. Yo, might need you to take on Eastwood with me defending Hurts. I was supposed to be there that day. I just had something come up. It's funny. Listen, Eastwood is not just a hater. Like, he legitly has concerns, right? He gets haterish in his comments because, he gets tired of hearing people calling him a hater, right? But when we talk about it, we legitly both. It's crazy, though, because we had a couple of them. And I think every time I think he leaves my show, he's like, And then he goes on his show and he just bashes him anyways. But yeah, I agree with you. ALB in the building. Dave only made it for the first 45 minutes. When I get Spadaro on, I try not to keep him long. But there was some beefing in the chat, and I wanted to get some stuff off my chest about Jalen Hurts, the draft, and whatnot. So Dave Spadaro went off in the first 45 minutes, and I stayed behind and tried to hold down the fort. But see, last year I got Dave Spadaro on a week before the draft. So he actually gave me some tidbits. He kept trying to play the I don't know nothing and I don't know where we're going to go, blah, 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 because he said should have got me a week before. And I had him last year at that time, but he will be on the channel after the draft. So we can say, I told you so, or really talk about how we messed this up. Because it's funny when I criticize Howie, I think he low key want to criticize him too, but y'all got to remember the Eagles are his employer. So he can say, yes, the Eagles missed here, or the Eagles got to get better here, but he can't do what we all do. You know what I mean? He can't straight out say, no, they missed this. They were wrong here. But he was getting to the point that the Eagles find themselves in a situation is because we haven't drafted well. This draft is important, but he's always going to give the Eagles a benefit of the doubt because he likes the Eagles. He works for the Eagles, and it is what it is. But I I've had Dave Spadaro on the channel now maybe five or six times. Every time I get him on the channel, he does get a little bit more brolic with his talking, right? He gets a little bit more. All right, let me say this. You know what I mean? He does. Today it is what it is, but it should be interesting. And actually, the next time we get Dave Spadaro on, which will be after the draft, we're gonna have to get him on a GOAT Talk episode. So I can let my guy LB ask him some of the questions too. Nah, look, he just feels one way. Again, we all want the Eagles to be good. We just see it differently. This is what we do. Big props to you, Philly Mike, for earning Dave Spadaro respect as a repeat guest. Salute. Hey, yeah, listen, pretty much he just tells me to give him a couple days notice and he'll always want to come on. I'm not going to constantly get him on, because then we start losing stuff to talk about and whatnot. But hey, shout out to Dave Spadaro. He was in the office today. I'm like, yo, that behind the scenes, I'm like, that Brian Dawkins picture is fire. He's like, I got a lot of stuff. Let me know. Maybe I can hook you up with something. I'm like, I could use something like that. Yeah, they. I could use something like that. He got some cool Eagles just stuff. Hellman said, hey, Philly Mike, how are you, my friend? Hope all's well. Shout out to you, bro. Appreciate you for tuning in. Peter Riley said, go talk all day. Yeah, it's coming. Me and LB ain't going to be slipping no more. We were, what? We waited like 5 weeks without it, but we going to be every week at the latest, every other week, rotating channels. We will be here, though. This is going to be a very fun time. It's going to be stressful, but it's going to be fun. And I do believe there's something in the way Howie's been bringing everything back to the draft. He understands that if he goes best player available and something bad happens, well, then we're still going to be mad. We're still going to find a way to blame him. But if he goes best player available and this guy's on the board and all Philly is pretty much playing it safe too, like this is the guy we need to get, and we get him and something goes wrong, it's going to be less of a see how he did it again. It's when he goes off the board and grabs the JJ Arcega-Whitesides and the Jalen Regers and these type of guys. He went BPA last year and it panned out. Some ninjas said, what do you think about trading 18 and the 3rd round pick from the Saints for DK Metcalf? If that wasn't an available trade, I would legitly do it. It hurts because, as we talked about, part of the reason why the Eagles fell in this rut is that we have too many people that we have to pay. We build too much through free agency that we're paying, and it's just adding up. We don't have that freedom of, wow, we got a young, talented player for 4 or 5 years. We have young players, but they're trash. You got to get you got to build your team through the draft and sprinkle in free agency. And with DK being a 2nd round pick and his contract up, we get 1 year cheap. We would get this year cheap, and next year you got to pay this man handsomely. So I want DK. I would take him. It's the veteran. He's a baller, but you got to be prepared to pay this man $20+ million per year. 20+. It starts at 20. And that's in 1 year. So you get 1 year, cheap service, $20+ million, however long you extend them. That's where it gets crazy. Strictly 4 games. So what I missed, partner. Hey, if you want to check the interview of Philly Mike and Dave Spadaro, it's the first 45 minutes. The first 45 minutes of this is me and Dave Spadaro. And then normally when I do the Dave Spadaro stuff, I get off. I say bye to him and I end it. I say bye to y'all. But the chat was spicy. I wanted to talk to you guys because I don't go live much. So I said, hey, why not stay? And now we've been going about 45 minutes. So the first 45 minutes is me and Dave Spadaro. The second has been me and you guys talking. Brisker's tough, especially because of how physical he is. Penn State safety, I like him. Mike, when is the mock draft when other NFC East content creators don't want to miss this? I just said something in a group message today. The crazy thing, the NFC group message right here, NFC group message. I just said something today about, hey, we got 3 weeks into the draft. What are we about to do? Rager better than Jefferson. How many teams really go BPA to over ASAP needs? I don't know how many teams. It's great when a BPA falls. That is a need. But again, I think Howie, again, I'm not saying these guys listen to us. To me, Fresh, Gate, LB 500, Joey, Joe Castro, I'm not saying they listen to us, but social media is becoming such a high frequently thing. Everybody got a Twitter now. Everybody got these things, and they pause and they check it. And so I think, you know, as social media rises up the board, players see it, GMs see it, coaches see it, and they don't listen because they believe they know better. But they definitely are worried about the fallback. People's jobs are lost on a quicker rate now. Not Howie Roseman, but other people. So I think you got to I think Howie Roseman has been playing his cards close to the vest and right. I like what he's been doing 100%. But I do agree, not the idiot part, because people have their own opinions, but you cannot build your team through free agency. You just can't. The dollars won't add up. There is a salary cap, even though the Rams somehow don't abide by it. There is a salary cap. You have to have young, cheap talent on the roster, and then you spend to fix holes. You spend in free agency to fix holes, to get players on this team, of course, but you make the big purchases when you're ready to put the rims on your you make the big rim purchase to make your car look nice when the car's already nice. Now you got to put the rims on top. We're not ready yet. We still fixing our car. I like the car though. Shout out to R Gravy with the $2 super chat. Appreciate the love. Devontae Wyatt arrested off some team's boards. Whoa, 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 whoa. It just happened. Did it really? Or did it already? Did it been? Are you saying he's been arrested? Like it happened a long time ago, and that's gonna keep him off somebody's boards, or what the heck? Let me know what you meant by that, R Gravy. Appreciate the super chat though, for real. Um, should the Eagles take a chance on Jameson Williams, wide receiver from Alabama? Look, I'm about to drop my top 5 wide receiver video in the next couple days, and I'm really liking Jameson Williams. I really do. The injury is scary. We're gonna talk about all that there. But if if he goes, if he goes, if he's there at 18, I checked Twitter. I just see an update from JPA Football saying the Eagles have been in contact with Tyrann Mathieu's camp per Mike Garafolo. See, Mike Garafolo is one that don't be like joking around or like that. Let me see. I don't see the thing you're talking about though, because Devontae Wyatt is a known. I thought it would be trending. Where did you get that news from, Art Gravy? Hold on one second. Let me check one more thing. Yeah, I don't see it. That was 2 years ago. I mean, he'll be all right. Hey, I think the Philadelphia Eagles are looking at him and Jordan Davis. I think they're willing to move up a little bit. And I think if Devontae Wyatt's there, I think that's going to be the pick at 15. Not saying I don't like it, not saying I love it. I just think that too many reports came out about how interested the Philadelphia Eagles are in that D tackle. Wyatt was caught in a dispute with a female a couple years ago, y'all saying it was. So, yeah, I mean, it might take people off a little bit, but if it's not fresh, normally that stuff falls to the wayside. I mean, talent is talent. A lot of people get second chances in the NFL. It's old news, though. Lori don't mind a little record if Wyatt's news is true. Yeah, but it is. Wyatt definitely looks to be an Eagle. He was arrested in February 2020. Shout out to everybody letting me know. I'm about to be like, yo, that's crazy. I didn't know that, though. But with that being said, man, I appreciate all the love, all the support. Listen, I promise we're going to start going live because I'm going to be dropping videos. You know what we should do? When I do my what's it called videos, when I do my draft videos, I know I can premiere it so I can talk with you guys. But what I might do is I might record my draft video, right? Top 5 wide receivers, or Nakobe Dean versus this guy, or the Eagles are interested in Wyatt or Jordan Davis, and I break down some tape. I might record that video, you know, my regular 8 to 12 minute video. I might find a way to download it to StreamYard. I might play it, and then as soon as the video is done, so I can have my video with the edits in it, and we then go live and talk about it after. Because I want to start doing live draft content with you guys, and also want you to see, I want to be able to break stuff down, and I can't do all that from StreamYard. But I might be able to do it from OBS. I'm going to figure something out because we got a lot to talk about. 3 weeks left. We got to talk about some stuff. We definitely do. Me and LB won't miss no more Go Talks. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Like I said, I've been dropping a lot of videos with the Sixers and the playoffs around the corner. I haven't been going live for the Eagles as much, but we about to come through. So do me a favor, hit the like button, subscribe if you are new. We on the road to 20K, 19.1. I appreciate y'all for sure. Let's see if we got this over 200 likes. Again, if you want to see, we need 6 more likes for 200. I know y'all got 6 more likes in you. Listen, shout out to my guy, Philly Fan D, channel member in the building. Big Play Slay, 3-Car Monty in the building. R. Gravy says, sorry, it was 2020, but Kuiper and McShay are saying Wyatt could drop late first round. He won't get past us, though. He won't get past us. I don't see the Eagles letting up. But listen, once again, if you're just tuning in, you're like, he said Dave Spadaro's on the channel, and he's just over here talking by himself. He was here for the first 45 minutes. So again, when I end this video, restart the video, first 40 minutes is me and Dave Spadaro talking about the offseason, the draft, and how good the Eagles can actually be. So we have that video. I just stayed on longer because I don't get to do live streams with y'all. So it's 200. Shout out to you guys. I appreciate the love. Justin Fields in the building. Appreciate it. Anthony Allen says, swoop. There it is. Until next time, y'all know what time it is. Go listen to me and Dave Spadaro in the beginning, at least the first 20 minutes. I was trying to get this guy to commit, but he wouldn't do it. If I brought him in a week before, I could have got him to commit to something. We are out. Peace.